good morning, I mean good afternoon because it's almost 1 o'clock. If you follow me on Instagram, you saw that I made banana nut muffins. So, extra credit is basically just going to be me reading the book and then you answering a question. And if you do it correctly, without cheating or sharing your answers, I'm going to give you a couple extra credit points every day. So, last time we saw Christopher, he was sneaking into his dad's room and he found a box with his book, but he also found some envelopes that had his name on it. So here we go. I only know 3 people who do little circles instead of dots over their letter I's. And one of them is Miss S, and one of them is Mr. Loxley, who used to teach at the school, and one of them was Mother. And then I heard Father opening the front door, so I took one envelope from under the book and I put the lid back on the shirt box and I put the toolbox back on top of it and I closed the cupboard door really carefully. Then Father called out, "Christopher, where are you?" I said nothing because he might be able to hear where I was calling from. I stood up and walked around the bed to the door, holding the envelope, trying to make as little noise as possible. Father was standing at the bottom of the stairs and I thought he might see me, but he was flicking through the post mail, which that had come this morning, so his head was pointing down. Then he walked away from the foot of the stairs towards the kitchen, and I closed the door of his room very quietly and went into my own room. I wanted to look at the envelope, but I didn't want to make Father angry, so I hid the envelope underneath my mattress. Then I walked downstairs and said hello to Dad. And he said, "So what have you been up to today, young man?" And I said, "Today we did life skills with Mrs. Gray, which was using money and public transport. And I had tomato soup for lunch and 3 apples. And I practiced some math in the afternoon, and we went for a walk in the park with Mrs. Peters and collected leaves for making collages." And Father said, "Excellent, excellent. What do you fancy for dinner tonight?" I wanted to say that I wanted baked beans and broccoli. And Father said, "I think that can be very easily arranged." I sat on the sofa and I read some more of a book that I was reading called Chaos. Then I went into the kitchen and had my baked beans and broccoli, while Father had sausages and eggs and fried bread and tea. Then Father said, "I'm going to put those shelves up in the living room, if that's all right with you. I'll make a bit of a racket, I'm afraid, so if you want to watch television, we're going to have to shift it upstairs." I said, "I'll go and be in my room anyways." "Good man. Thank you for dinner, because that is being polite," I said. And he said, "No problem, kiddo." So I went up to my room. And when I was in my room, I shut the door and I took out the envelope from underneath my mattress. I held the letter up to the light to see if I could detect what was inside the envelope, but the paper of the envelope was too thick. I wondered whether I should open the envelope because it was something I had taken from Father's room, but then I reasoned that it was addressed to me, so it belonged to me, so it was okay to open it. So I opened the envelope, and inside there was a letter, and this was what was written in the letter. "Dear Christopher, I'm sorry it's been such a very long time since I wrote my last letter to you. I've been very busy. I've got a new job working out as a secretary for a factory that makes things out of steel. You'd like it a lot. The factory is full of huge machines that make the steel and cut it and bend it into whatever shapes they need. This week, they're making a roof for a cafe and a shopping center in Birmingham. It's shaped like a huge flower, and that's going to stretch canvas over it to make it look like an enormous tent. Also, we've moved into the new flat at last, as you can see from the address. It's not as nice as the old one, and I don't like Wildenwin very much, but it's easier for Roger to get to work, and he bought it. He only rented the other one. So we can get our own furniture and paint the walls the colors we want to. And that's why it took such a long time since I wrote my last letter to you, because it's been hard work packing up all of our things and then unpacking them and then getting used to this new job. I'm very tired now and I must go to sleep, and I want to put this in the mailbox tomorrow morning, so I'll sign off for now and write you another letter soon. You haven't written to me yet, so I know that you are probably still angry with me. I'm sorry, Christopher, but I still love you. I hope you don't stay angry with me forever, and I'd love if you were able to write me a letter, but remember to send it to the new address. I think about you all the time. Lots of love. Your Mom." Then I was really confused because Mother had never worked as a secretary for a firm that made things out of steel. Mother had worked as a secretary for a big garage in the center of town, and Mother had never lived in London. Mother always lived with us, and Mother had never written a letter to me before. There was no date on the letter, so I couldn't work out when Mother had written the letter, and I wondered whether someone else had written the letter and pretended to be her. And then I looked at the front of the envelope and I saw that there was a postmark, and there was a date on the postmark, and it was quite difficult to read, but it looked like this, which meant that the letter was posted on 16th of October of 1997. which was 18 months after Mom had died. And then the door of my bedroom opened and Father said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm reading a letter." And he said, "I finished the drilling. That David Attenborough nature program is on television if you want to watch it." I said, "Okay," and then he went downstairs. I looked at the letter and thought really hard. It was a mystery and I couldn't work it out. Perhaps the letter was in the wrong envelope and it had been written before Mother had died. But why was she writing from London? The longest she had been away for a week was when she went to visit her cousin Ruth, who had cancer, but Ruth lived in Manchester. And then I thought that perhaps it wasn't a letter from Mother. Perhaps it was a letter to another person called Christopher, from that Christopher's mother. I was excited. When I started writing my book, there was only one mystery I had to solve. Now there were two. I decided that I would not think about it anymore that night because I hadn't had enough information and could easily leap to the wrong conclusion, like Mr. A says, which is a dangerous thing to do because you should make sure you have all the available clues before you start deducing things. That way you are much less likely to make a mistake or be wrong. I decided that I would wait until Father was out of the house. Then I would go into the cupboard in his bedroom and look at the other letters and see who they were from and what they said. I folded the letter and hid it under my mattress in case Father found it and got cross. Then I went downstairs and watched television. Alright, that's where we're going to go ahead and leave off. So I'm going to post some questions. Go ahead and answer them if you would like some extra credit. Even if you don't want extra credit and you just want to know what's going on. We are a little over halfway through the book, so I'm hoping to finish by the end of April. Love you guys. Stay safe.